What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm also going to break down what's happening to the overall market as far as the important data coming out for tomorrow, which you should be watching for as time progresses. Before I begin the devil's information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I'm firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, deposit $100, you're guaranteed 7 free stocks. They're going to be fractions of the Magnificent Seven, and the offering is very soon in just a couple of weeks. Anyways, for Tesla, we have a very, very interesting trend right here. Tesla's kind of range trading right now. We have a tendency of getting bought back up around the 178 area. And we have a tendency of kind of rejecting very close to 182, and also at 185. So we have this nice range on Tesla. We want to see how tomorrow goes. I just want to note that although Apple is pushing upwards during the after hours, this is a little bit more positive for the markets. But I just wanted to call out that there's more data coming out. We have more data coming out for tomorrow. It's going to affect how we end up moving. So don't forget that tomorrow is going to be Friday, May 3rd, 2024. 1 hour before the market opens, we have some very important unemployment numbers coming out. Whatever is announced is going to be very important, and that's the most important piece of data. And then after that, we also have the labor force participation rates, non-farm payrolls, and the non-farm payrolls that are private. That's going to be very important. Then 15 minutes after the market ends up opening, okay, at 9:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have the S&P Global Composite PMI, the S&P Global Services PMI, and more pieces of data. And at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 30 minutes after market opening, we have the ISM Services business activity and ISM Services new orders. That's going to cause some volatility, so look for big moves during these times. So once again, an hour before the market opens, then the first 30 minutes are going to be kind of volatile as we have important data coming out. Right now, the market is kind of fearful, a little bit more on the fearful side, but it's not anything too crazy. Market momentum is still kind of neutral. The reason for that is because we're starting to see buyers stepping in again, defending their positions. We're starting to see the puts and call options positioning becoming greedy because we're starting to see more of these puts being closed, calls being bought, and the overall sentiment kind of shifting. Market volatility is also neutral. The VIX is once again continuing to fall a little bit. We'll have to see if this continues on this trend. If that's the case, this can actually help the market. And that's pretty much it in terms of data for now. On top of this, we had earnings that just came out. We had Apple and Coinbase. I'm going to start off with Coinbase. So for Coinbase, okay, we were up about 8% for today alone. We were also up pretty big yesterday. This was pushing very hard, approaching its earnings. Okay. Now, it kind of priced in a lot of what ended up being announced, kind of like a buy the rumor, sell the news event. And then as soon as the good news came out, we saw the share price kind of drop like 2%. It's still up overall for the last few days because it's been pumping already. But the good news is EPS was a beat at $4.40 above the $1.09 expectation. Revenue is $1.64 billion above the $1.34 billion expectation. And everything's looking pretty good so far for them. Now, that is why, the share price is running, approaching this big earnings, and we'll have to see how things go from here. Now, when it comes to Apple stock, I just want to call out that Apple announced its largest ever $110 billion share buyback as iPhone sales have dropped 10%. Looking at this, the EPS was $1.53 above expectations. Revenue is $90.75 billion above expectations. iPhone revenue is below expectations. Mac revenue is above. iPad revenue is below. Other products revenue is below, and everything else is very close to expectations. There is no formal guidance announced, but Tim Cook said that the overall sales would grow in the low single digits during the June quarter. Sadly, despite that, we have this insane buyback, which helps save the share price. That's why the share price ended up going up. Earnings were mixed for it, but we got a very, very nice buyback, 110 billion. That's why we're up. Tomorrow we have about 420,000 of these calls expiring, and we have just under 800,000 puts expiring. So we have a 505 max payment with 1.87 being our puts to call ratio. Tesla is also looking at inline expectations. We're seeing the price price ratio going up a little bit on a slight uptrend as Tesla has been building some strength, but starting to turn a bit as Tesla kind of started to sink a little bit. Fridays tend to be green about 49% of the time, and we tend to see more volatility around 10 a.m., 1 p.m., and also during the final 2 hours of the day. At 89 million in volume kind of slowed down for Tesla, not seeing anything too crazy. I'm going to be looking at the short volume, it's kind of going up a bit. So we'll see how things go. But in my personal opinion, with this drop right here, this could actually lead to a little push on Tesla before it continues. I think that Tesla has potential to go a little higher, maybe retest 182, maybe go a little bit higher. But as of right now, we're kind of stuck in this range. And the current trend on Tesla is still a bit more bearish because when you look at the last couple of days, last 4 days, we've been downtrending overall. So I think Tesla's going to kind of pop a little bit, maintain this range for some time, but it could dip a little bit lower to fill this gap later on. Watch support at 178. That's going to be key. And then 175, followed by 172. Look at resistance at 182. If that breaks, look for 185 to 186, then eventually 188. I want to make it very clear that right now Tesla's still range bound. There is a risk of it dipping a little bit, but we'll have to give this some time just to see how things go. But overall, might push a little bit higher before it ends up coming back down. So we'll just give this some time. For SPY, I wanted to call out that we have a head and shoulders like structure that has been developing, but whether or not we invalidate this or not depends on what reaction we get from the data tomorrow. I am not a fortune teller. I don't know what's going to happen with all the data coming out. We have the PMI report and such. I also want to admit that I did make a mistake, and that was I turned a little bit too bearish after what happened yesterday. We got some bearish looking technicals, and I was worried that we might see a little dip, but instead we saw buyers defend. So I want to be unbiased in this video instead. If we get good data tomorrow, if the reaction to the unemployment numbers and ISM services numbers is bullish, SPY could push to 510. If we break this, we're going to be pushing higher. It looks to me like it's going to push a little bit higher to at least 508 anyways, but then we'll see if it rejects or not. If we push to 508 and then reject, we're going to be looking for a rejection towards 502. If that happens, we're going to be dipping even lower. So give this some time, see how things go. And we want to be very, very open-minded nonetheless. And we'll see if buyers end up stepping in. So watch and see if this head and shoulders plays out. Will this end up leading to a big drop? If we end up rejecting off 507 to 508 and start dipping back down to 502, there's going to be a high probability of this dropping more. If we break past 508 and push to 510 plus, then we can push higher first before we get any move to the downside. So it all depends on the data. We'll just have to wait and see how it goes. We have one positive factor that's going to be Apple's earnings so far. So we'll see how that ends up affecting us. We have the similar technicals on the QQQ. We have resistance currently at our 200 EMA, which is currently around 432. We have support at 425. If we reject off the 430 area and then we end up projecting and coming back down below 425, there's a risk of this dipping down below 420 and the head and shoulders playing out. Tomorrow, if we break past 431, look for 433 to be tested. Breaking this would take us all the way up to 435 and 437 and validating the head and shoulders. It depends on the data, so we'll just have to wait and see. I'll be waiting for the move very, very quickly. For Apple, we're up pretty nicely. We could easily push to about 185. This could help the market to some extent, but that's just one factor because we also have to wait for the data. For Nvda, we're trying to push. We look a little bit more bullish on the 4 hour. It could push higher towards 872. Breaking that opens the doors for 885. If we break 885, we're going all the way up to 900, by the way. It's going to be our next resistance zone. If we push up to 872 and reject, we're going to be looking for a move all the way down towards 845 just to see how things go. But with that being said, I just want to call out how this is moving. There's a somewhat slanted head and shoulders like structure, so we'll see how it moves from here. We'll be very, very open-minded nonetheless. With that being said, let's break down some more information. I just want to call out that when it comes to Palance here, this can actually go a little bit higher. I wouldn't be surprised if this goes up to about 23, but we'll have to watch and see how it reacts to resistance. If it rejects off here, we're going to be dipping. If it pushes, it is what it is. Supermicro has a possible head and shoulders. If we push a little bit higher, we might retest our 20 EMA around just under 800. If it rejects here, we're going to be dipping back down towards here. But look for a test of 786 to 800 and see if we reject or not. For Rivian, we're trying to push higher, but look at resistance at 10. If we break past this, I think it could go a little bit higher towards 10.17, so it does have more bullish potential. So watch and see if we break or not. For SoFi, we're going to likely test 7.07 to 7.22 and watch to see if we get a rejection back down or not. I'll give that a little bit more time. With IWM Russell 2000, we're going to be looking to see a potential cup and handle like structure. If we break past 200, we're going to be looking for a move to 203. If it rejects off 200, we're going to be dipping back down to about 197. So watch and see what the move is. Try to be open-minded depending on the data. For AMD, if we're bullish, I think it might try to push towards 150. I see potential in it. If it breaks that, look for 155. If it rejects off there, we're going to be dipping all the way back down to 145. For ARM, we're going to be looking for a test of about 103.25. If we reject here, we're going to be dipping. If it breaks here, we're going to be pushing for at least 105. So give this some time and look for a big test. Coinbase pumped so hard. It was up almost 9%, and now it's kind of rejecting a bit. Watch support at this 220 area. If we lose this, we're going to be dipping all the way down to about 215. And we'll see if this holds. It might actually come down a little bit lower because of buy the rumors, sell the news, but it's not going to be that bad in my personal opinion. Amazon has a very, very nice structure right here. Watch 185 to 186. If it breaks this, we're going all the way up towards 188. If it rejects off 185, we could return to 180. As of right now, we're kind of shuffling, so give it some time. For Meta is also trying to uptrend just a bit. We're kind of shuffling around 441. If we break this, we're going to be looking for a push all the way up towards 450. If it fails to hold 440, we're going to be dipping all the way down towards 432. So give this some time. Microsoft is also shuffling around 398 area. If we break through this, look for 403. If it rejects, we're going to be dipping back down. So give this some time as well. I think that this is going to show some signs of life. So look for a test of 400 and see if it rejects or not. Google is trying to look for 170 to be tested. If it breaks this, we're going to go even higher to 172. If it rejects off 170, we'll be dipping back down to 166. So watch for that. The VIX is coming down, looks a little bit more bearish to me, so it might actually dip down. If it loses 14 flat, we're going to be coming all the way down to 12.9 to fill our gap. And if that happens, that's going to be because of the market potentially pushing higher. So there is potential in the market to go a little bit higher temporarily. We'll just have to give this some time and see how it goes. So I see a risk of the VIX kind of dipping a bit. Be careful, guys, but watch for confirmation. If it somehow turns and goes up above 16, then that could be a bearish signal for the markets. The best thing to do is just be patient and wait and see which way we end up going. The 10-year treasury yield is dipping a bit to fill this gap, so that is a little bit bullish for the markets. And also the dollar is dipping a bit towards its 200 EMA. If we end up losing 105.2, we're going to be bearish. If we hold this, we're going to bounce. So watch and see for a little bit more downside, which suggests that the market could bounce a little bit more before we get some kind of move. So it looks to me like the market's going to push a little bit higher tomorrow, but watch and see if we get this head and shoulders, if this plays out or not. That's going to be very, very important for the markets, so give this the time it needs. For Tesla, it's the same thing. Tesla's on a bit of a downtrend, but it might try to rebound a little bit tomorrow, so I'm going to be looking for a test of 182. It also depends on the news and such, but make sure you watch the range. The range is very key. If we lose 178, we turn back to bearish. If we break past 182, we could push for 185. Breaking that would turn us back to bullish if we break through that. So I think tomorrow we're going to try to rebound a little bit on Tesla, trade within this range for some time, and then whatever the big move is after the data comes out will determine the much bigger move for Tesla. So give this some time. We do have some good news. That's Apple's earnings, which could help the market to some extent, including Tesla. So give it some time. Tesla does like to push during the open hours, and we'll be very, very open-minded nonetheless. Thank you all so much for listening. I appreciate every single one of you. I want the best for everyone. I want to apologize. This video is kind of rushed because I want to make this video short. And that's because I'm having some issues with YouTube uploading my videos. This is happening to a lot of different creators out there. So we'll see if I can even upload the video today or not. I really hope I am able to. If this video is late, guys, I do apologize for that. I know that I'm having some issues, so let's hope for the best. I hope I can get this video out sometime today, and let's hope that YouTube helps resolve these issues. Thank you for listening, guys. I'll see you guys very soon tomorrow morning, and peace out.